Back with another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club. I hope you guys are having a great day wherever you are, whatever day it is for you. As always, it's Friday on the podcast, so we're bringing that good Friday energy to you. We got Jeremy Beeland with us on the podcast today from New Hampshire Home Buyers and REI Freedom. He does wholesaling. I'm sure he also buys and does the other real estate stuff, but wholesaling is his bread and butter. So if that is a strategy you guys are interested in, this is the episode to listen to. Jeremy, I'm excited to hop into it. Thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, Gabe, thanks for having me today. Yeah, I definitely started out as a wholesaler, but I would consider myself an off-market specialist these days. We are just focused on getting properties off market, and we dispose of them in every different way. Yes, we still wholesale, but honestly, whereas wholesale used to be a majority of my business, I would say it's just a small part of what I do these days.
All right. No, thank you for the clarification there. Off-market specialist, and that is where all the best deals are found. So
Yes.
regardless, this is going to be a good one. Jeremy, I told you before we got on here, we always like to start with stories. We like to
Yeah.
hear how people got to where they are. So why don't you take us to the beginning of your story in real estate and tell us how you got here?
Yeah, I'll try to get through it quickly because I know this is a short podcast. I came into this world with a single mother. She was a young mom, 20, 21, 22 years old when she had me. No father in my life. Very, very poor, bouncing around from place to place. My mom was basically homeless. So came into life struggling. I feel bad for my mom, but she was able to find a way to make it work. Living on welfare for the first half dozen years of my life. Then eventually she met a guy, and then we ended up moving from Massachusetts to New Hampshire, getting out of that poverty life, and had, lower middle class life. It wasn't bad. We had a small house and new cars, and I had a bike, right? Life was good. And my stepfather at the time decided that he was going to end up leaving his good, high paying tech job as a manager and go on to start his own business. And it was a window cleaning business. And in doing so, he ended up losing everything. This was about one time I was 13, about 1990, right before I went into high school. And within a year, we lost everything. The house was foreclosed. We came out one day and the cars were all repossessed overnight. My family had to file for bankruptcy. I had a much younger brother and sister. At the time, I was so focused on what my world was going through as an angst teenager. But looking back, I can only imagine the struggles they had. And, because they went through all those financial struggles, and, we were basically bouncing around from place to place, one crappy rental to the next crappy rental, to a point where when we got foreclosed right before I went to high school, I ended up going to 3 high schools by the time I was done my sophomore year. I ended up becoming a very troubled teenager, dropped out of high school and just struggled, and ended up getting my GED. And then I was just like fumbling through life. And next thing you know, I find myself, around 20, 21, 22 years old. And I'm hanging out on high-rise windows, skyscrapers in Boston as a high-rise window cleaner. So,
I heard you make good money doing that stuff.
Not me. I was making $24,000 a year, whopping $12 an hour back then.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And again, I had no money. Living paycheck to paycheck, crappy little apartment, $400 beater card, no credit, nothing. And I just thought this was my life. And then I was playing semi-pro football. I was getting into health and fitness at that time, which is a very pivotal moment in my life. I went from being a troubled teenager who was drinking and smoking too much pot and doing all those things, and smoking cigarettes, to the gym and life and health and fitness, which I'm still passionate about today. So I was playing semi-pro football. A friend of mine says, "Hey, why don't you stop doing window cleaning, hanging off those skyscrapers in the coals for, blah, blah, blah money. And why don't you come work for me?" And it was a sales job, and it was selling fax machines, copiers, and printers like that, really entry-level business to business sales. But I never had any experience. They were going to pay me $24,000 a year to go into an office plus potential for commission. I was like, I'm going to make the same money and I get to go to an office instead of hanging off the side of a building every day. Sold. So it was all in. And, I guess they were desperate. They were like, "Hey, you're breathing, you're hired." So they took me in. I literally never even owned a tie at that point. I had to go and get somebody, my stepfather, to tie a tie just so I could have it for the job interview. And, for the first, 6 months of that job, I had 2 shirts, 1 tie, and like 2 pairs of pants that I wore every single day because I was so poor. But eventually I started to find some good success with sales, door knocking, getting past gatekeepers, business to business, did a lot of cold calling, things like that. Nothing great, but found some success and led me to another opportunity where I started to make really good money. It was actually selling cleaning services to businesses, which is where I really kind of found my rhythm. And next thing you know, I'm in my early 30s. I'm married. I have 2 little kids. I have my own house. I have nice cars. We have a pool. We just bought a camper. We'll put a camper up at a campground. From a guy who had literally nothing, I was like at the point where I thought, wow, I've made it in life. Here I am, 32, 33 years old. I have made it. You know, everything I've ever wanted in life, I have finally achieved. I was on top of the world. Then 2009 came along, and the recession humbled me very, very quickly. And it rocked me because I didn't go to college, because I didn't go to high school. And again, it was a housing crisis, but it was also an employment crisis. So I found myself out of work, couldn't find a job anywhere. All those people that were more educated than me, maybe higher paying executives and salespeople than me, were all taking lower paying jobs because everybody was in survival mode at that time. We just put an addition on our house, and next thing you know, the house is upside down $150,000 in like a year and a half. There's no loan modifications, no refinance options. The only people getting bailed out back then were the bankers, right? And Wall Street. The rest of us were just screwed. No, really, the only thing that actually saved me was that our mortgage companies kept going out. Like, we get a new mortgage company, we'd start the foreclosure process. 3 months later, 4 months later, they were gone, right? We start the process all over again, which was a blessing. And I was really learning about real estate investing at this time. I was starting to learn from Peter. I read like Rich Dad Poor Dad. I was learning from people like Peter Conti. I was learning about wholesaling. I was placing ads in local newspapers that we buy houses and stuff like that. Looking back now, I had no clue what I was doing, but I was taking massive and perfect action and trying. But the whole world got turned upside down and got to a point where I was now on the brink of foreclosure and bankruptcy with no solution. And I spiraled into a deep depression, became suicidal. It got really, really bad. I felt like a failure. Here it is. History is repeating itself. I have 2 young kids. You know, they're basically, I think they were 4 and 2 at the time. I'm like, I'm about to lose everything, get us homeless. My wife at that time was a school teacher, but she was making a modest living. It was just enough to get us by, if that. So I didn't know what to do, but I had finally came up with this opportunity that I could go into the military. I couldn't afford to go back to college, but I needed to do something to get an education. So I said, you know what, why don't I go into the military? They're going to teach me about network security. I could come out and I'll sell business to business, firewall, proxies, and things of that nature, because you're going to need network security regardless of the recession. So recession proof. And I'm getting to my story. It's all going to wrap up here, but this is all, it's all going to make sense in a minute.
No, you've got me hooked. Keep going.
So, but in order to get into the Air Force, I couldn't go through foreclosure and bankruptcy because I needed a top secret clearance. So I was kind of in a tough spot. I was on the brink of losing everything. That's when I said, you know what? Why don't I reach out to a local real estate investor? I said, it can't hurt. See what they can do. And I reached out to this guy, Bernie Cox. He's still a cash buyer on my cash buyers list today. And he came out and said, hey, Jeremy, listen, the mortgage company that you have right now is terrible. They're really difficult to work with, but I have successfully short-sold other properties with them. You're the perfect scenario, the perfect candidate. I feel very confident we can get it done. And he did. And in that time, he was, because you can't profit off a short sale, and we were desperate for money, he was like buying things like our shed, our pool, some appliances we had for cash. And that cash was literally groceries, Christmas money that year, you know, clothes on my kids' back. It was like bare necessities. So my first off-market deal, I was the distressed motivated seller. And if it wasn't for that guy doing that today, then Gabe, I wouldn't be here today. And what was the worst time in my life has now become the best thing that's ever happened to me, has become my passion. So I go into the military, 6 months, go into basic training at 33, right before the age cutoff at 34. I'm in basic training with a bunch of 17-year-old kids. They nickname me Gramps because I'm so much older than everybody else, right? Man, I wish I was 34 today. But yeah, so this was all happening 15 years ago. And then, you know, I went into the Air Force, and when I came back, my wife and I got divorced. We separated. I finally, slowly, after a couple of years, got myself back up to a sales job where I was making 6 figures again. Now I'm a divorced dad of 2 kids. You know, I just bought a townhouse, and now I'm approaching 40. And I'm listening to all these different books and podcasts about flipping and wholesaling and all this stuff. And I'm like, God, I'm starting to feel vulnerable. I feel like my world is going to end again. If my boss decides to sell, I'm screwed. I don't want to be in another situation like this. I got to take things into my control. And that's when I came across the Wholesaling Inc. podcast with Tom Kroll. And if you don't know who Tom Kroll is, he's this magnetic personality. Bam, bang, ding, 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 ding with his bell and everything. And I was just hooked. And I was traveling around the country and I had analysis paralysis. I said, I'm going to do this. This will be the lowest barrier of entry to get me in, but I need $5,000 to join a coaching program, which I didn't have. So at 40 years old, which would be 9 years ago last month, I decided to sell my townhouse because I had some equity in it. And I made $17,000 in that townhouse. I moved me and my kids into this crappy little 2-bedroom apartment and not such a nice area, but it was a big step backwards to go forward. And, next thing you know, January 2017, I'm in the coaching program, started marketing. And March of 2017, I still got it here today. You can't really see it well, but that is my first $5,000 check that I got. I had proof of concept. I could do this. We went on to do 10 deals that year for about $77,000. The foundation was built, went into that. Talked to my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. She quit her job, came in full time. Couple years later, I quit my full-time job, which was scary as hell, by the way. We blended 5 kids, moved a couple times. We did it all. And here we are 9 years later, getting ready to finish our 9th year. We're about to hit the 500 off-market acquisition. We've done $12 million in profits. We own rental portfolios in different parts of the country. I've done business in different parts of the country. And now I've been a coach for 2 years. So not only am I paying it forward for that person who was me, 15 years ago, to all these people who need a reset button in their life, in our local community, I'm teaching others how to do the same while getting away from, the golden handcuffs of corporate America. So that's my story.
Man, I love your story. I mean, for so many reasons. I mean, first, it goes to show that it really does not matter where you start. You can pull yourself up. You can get yourself to the goal that you want. Any excuse you have about where you are, what you've experienced in your past does not matter. What matters is what actions you take today and how consistent you are in those actions. So I love that. And the second reason I like it is because it has so many peaks and valleys. You went up, you went down, you thought you were on the top of the world, you were making 6 figures doing sales. And then 2008 happened, you went down, you went into the trough, got a divorce, all the bad things happened. But at 40 years old, you restarted. And I love that you restarted, quote unquote, so late in life, because a lot of people, when they hit 40, they think, what I'm doing now is what I'll do for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
I can't
sure.
restart. I can't do something different. And you went to, you are a case proof in point that you can take whatever you want and do whatever you want at 40. There's nothing really stopping you. And so I say that because I'm 39. So I'm just going
Okay.
into
All
40.
right. Yeah. And Gabe, and it sounds cliche. If I could do this, anybody can do this, but you're really talking about a kid who came from nothing. Like my education is no greater than like 8th or 9th grade education. I got a GED. I didn't graduate high school. I didn't go to college. I wasn't a very educated guy. I was just not afraid to take action, and I was motivated by failure to just keep working hard and put in the effort. The one thing that I have is perseverance, but more importantly, I get up every day with a purpose. Even still, after all the success, I get up at 5 o'clock every day to kick ass. It's just how I'm wired. My wife's the same way. And then you talk about the 40s, right? Now that you've gotten older, right, you're probably starting to see it like I did. People start getting into the 40s and 50s in corporate America, quickly become replaceable. And you think you're going to end up with this job, or you're going to retire as vice president and get this thing. Next thing you know, the economy struggles a little bit like it is right now. And they start chopping heads off at the top because that's the easiest way to get profits down,
that's
right?
where the most money is. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've seen so many people over the last 10 to 15 years that happen to, and seeing it personally happen to people that I know put the fear of God into me. And I was like, you know what? I am not going to do that. I'm going to take control of myself. And if I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail on my own terms. Nobody else is going to be in control of it.
Yeah. And I never wish bad things upon anyone, but sometimes getting, like, for myself, I had to completely cut ties with corporate and force myself to be in the situation that I was like, well, I need to be successful. And that is the only option, because there is no way back. And so, having your back against the wall, you never really want it to happen, but it's usually a good thing in your life. If
It's
you
scary.
have no other option, it's scary,
Yeah.
and you don't want it to happen. But when it does happen, it is the motivation and a lot of times that you need in order to make the results happen that you want. And so,
Got to burn the
um,
boats, and it's a false sense of security that you have a paycheck with somebody day to day. None of us are secure in the future.
yeah.
You either have control of it or you don't. That's really what it comes down to.
Yep. I was the same way. I was in corporate for a long time, and I never felt, I was making good money, but I never felt secure because I knew that I could be replaced at any time. And there was
Yeah,
my skill. I worked hard and I was smart, but that is a dime a dozen out there in the corporate
yeah,
world. So
exactly,
many people
exactly.
work hard and are smart, so it doesn't matter. All right, let's talk about your actual strategies, what you're doing
Yeah.
in the day to day. You went through all this and you found success. Let's talk about how you did it, what your model is, and kind of how it grew over time.
Yeah, so we just started out wholesaling because we didn't learn, I didn't have any money and I didn't know about using other people's money. So it's definitely been a progression as time's gone on. We started out as a wholesaler, and anybody that I teach today that's newbies, I'm very passionate about learning the front ends. As you mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, it's all about finding the good deals. Once you become really good at finding the good deals, you can create any kind of real estate journey path you want to have, right? Any goals that you want to have, you can basically achieve if you know how to get good deals. Good deals
Mm.
aren't on the MLS, not enough to pave the path of success that you hope and achieve. So we just started out as that. We learned a way from our coaches at the time to get our properties under contract and not just give it to a cash buyer, but to have what we call an inspection walkthrough, which is an open house. So we go and get the properties direct to the seller through marketing channels under contract. A week later, we show it with an open house, and we have a huge, massive cash buyers list. We still add to it today, even 9 years later. And we try to drive as much traffic in there as possible. And a lot of times we even use the MLS these days. So I try to get like 30, 40, 50 cash buyers walking my property, and I treat it like an auction, right? Hey, we have our property under contract for 200,000. We only market it for $4,900 over contract price. We want to keep it low. We want people interested, and we drive as much traffic in there, give them 60 to 90 minutes to bring their partners through, their lenders through, the contractors through. The one and only time to see this house, right? And then you just, all offers are due the next day, and we create bidding wars, and we've been averaging about $35,000+ on assignment for years that way. And that's worked out really well. But then eventually I started getting frustrated with cash buyers because I felt like they were kind of a pain in the ass. So I decided to go out and learn from Chris Noggle about private lending after reading one of his books in 2019. Did a mastermind out there, and he taught us about private lending. Met a good friend who turned out to be a private lender and a business partner. We ended up creating Western New York home buyers out of Buffalo at that time. Did 150 wholesale deals in 2.5 years out there. And it was just another great story in our journey. But once we learned to use other people's money, my business just went to another stratosphere. And now I'm taking down property. So now today, right, we wholesale, we flip, we burr, but we still wholesale the deals that we don't want. We do novations on deals that maybe have some tight equity that are more retail based, right? We do sub two and creative financing. Those are like a tool in our tool belt, not a majority of what we do. So I'm really a cash buyer. We have probably $7 to $8 million in private lending from people that we know. And, like as I stand here today, we literally have 12 properties under contract in various stages, with more getting ready to buy this month. So it's just constant.
Yep. So let's get one layer deeper. You
Yeah.
already mentioned like finding those deals is what matters. That is, I mean, it's so important in real estate. You said all the good deals aren't on the MLS. I would challenge that, especially on the commercial side. Is a lot of deals when they stay on market for a long time. That's when you realize you can make a deal out of something on market, because those people, they've just been sitting on it. They're probably getting tired and they want to get something done. So you can negotiate a deal out of there. But I want to hear specifically about off market, what strategies you use and what the most effective strategies you use to find those deals.
Right. And I would challenge you, Gabe, to say, can you, commercial's different, but with residential, is there enough deals on the MLS for me to do 3 or 4 deals consistently every single month?
Right.
That's the hard part, right? So we have to
Yeah.
set up off marketing channels. There's cold calling, direct mail, text messaging. There's radio ads for incoming, TV commercials, SEO,
Radio
PPC.
ads.
Radio ads, yeah, TV commercials. There's pay per click, there's pay per lead companies out there, SEO. We've done just about everything over time. When you're brand new in this business, you got to do cold outreach. Text messaging, cold calling, and direct mail. Those are your bread and butter because your cost per lead is low. You're going to screw up a ton of leads or screw up a ton of deals. So you don't want to be spending a lot of money on marketing if you don't really know how to convert those opportunities to deals yet. But with those, they have a slower conversion cycle, right? So the time a lead comes in to the time a deal closes on any of those three marketing channels, the average is about 6 months. So it really takes 6 to 9 months to really look at those marketing channels to see if they're even performing, which is a long way to go because 10 to 20% of those deals leads that come through are going to be the low hanging fruit, which are, hey, Gabe, you caught me at the right time. I'm facing foreclosure, the auction's ready to go. I'm motivated and I'm out of time. I basically kicked the can down the road. I'm at a dead end. I have to do something now. I can't procrastinate anymore, right? So you get those. The other 80 to 90% of the people are people that are motivated, but the timing isn't right yet. So you're constantly following up with them. As time goes on, more of these leads go into your database and then they start to come to fruition. So the business, how it works is you have new leads coming in, but you're always working these old leads, cold leads, warm leads, and they start to, just hit it around the same time. So when you close multiple leads a month, they're a mix. But as you get better, you want to start looking at other performing leads, marketing channels like pay-per-click's been a great one for us. SEO is a great one, but that's a long game. You have to invest a lot of time and money into that one. Where we stand here today with my business, all we do is SEO, PPC, TV commercials, and we work our database because we have like 10,000 addresses in there, and then we're constantly working that. We don't do any cold outreach now. But I will say it's all subject to change because all marketing channels, they ebb and flow. We're constantly following our KPIs. What we do this quarter may change next quarter. What we do this year may change next year. We're constantly changing. Whatever works, we just stick with it. If it doesn't work, we cancel it.
Yeah. It is funny how, at one point, mailers work really well. And then a couple months down the road, your cold calling starts working and the mailers drop off. And it just kind of, you never know what is going to be working at any given point. It really depends on the market, how many other guys out there are doing mailers. Maybe they're getting too many mailers at that point and it's just falling through the cracks. And so having a good, I always hesitate to suggest people to do all the marketing channels because I do feel like it's better to focus in on one, get good at it, and then move on. But really having all the marketing channels working is a great way to get a large amount of inbound leads. So SEO and PPC, those are the two main ones you do. PPC for everybody that's and TV, PPC is pay per click, and that's usually Google Ads for everybody out there who's not familiar. On the SEO side, search engine optimization, generally it's Google search that people are trying to rank on. Have you tailored it all to rank on AI like ChatGPT?
I don't know if our service provider does that. It's a great question, but I did ask on one of my coaching. I had one of my coaching students. We were doing a coaching a coaching meeting, and when we talked about ChatGPT, he talked about somebody looked up and used ChatGPT. So during that coaching call, I actually did it and I showed up. I'm like, okay, so at least it works. I'm definitely number one. We're ranked number one, but I mean, we've been doing SEO for almost 9 years now, since almost day one. We got Carrot back in the day. We don't use them anymore, but they were great at search engine optimization. And then we got a company that did PPC and Facebook ads for us and did SEO with it. So we slowly grew over time. But we rank really high on Google and Bing. And it doesn't bring us in a ton of deals a year, but the ROI on it's great. It brings us a handful of deals and our costs are really low per lead.
I feel like PPC is definitely better because you can increase and decrease when, on demand. But SEO, once you get it up and running, it's like almost free money. Obviously not free money because you do have to create content. You have to get those words out there on the page, but
Gabe, and I'll share this with the audience too. So, I've been doing this for a long time and I've had success in 3 different markets. Now I've done business in Las Vegas and I failed, had moderate success in Wichita, Kansas, but at the end of the day, it wasn't really a success. But Southern Florida Upstate Western New York, Buffalo, Rochester, we had a lot of great success. And here in New England, those have been our three main markets where we've done a lot of deals. Our three best marketing channels in all three of those were SEO, PPC, and direct mail.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Direct mail. I mean, that's such a one of my favorite ways to market because it's a slow burn. You'll send it out, you get a lot of calls at the beginning, but then you'll keep getting calls. Like 6 months down the line, they're like, "Hey, I kept your mailer, and I just now's the time, and I want to sell."
Yeah.
So
With that being
we
said, I
have
don't do anymore. So go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
we have run the clock down, but before we
Okay.
move on, I got to ask about TV because that is a marketing channel that very few people do. I want to just hear about it. How does it work? How effective is it?
It's
And
been
what does
it's
it
been very
cost?
effective for us. It is costly. I will say, it's not going to work for everybody. I think, without coming across really arrogant and cocky, I think my wife and I, uh, we brand really well,
Hmm.
and we're very easy to relate and resonate with our audience. So we've done commercials that are very different than other TV house buying commercials. We want to be different. We have specific messages that we know from our years of experience that resonate better than just your cliche stuff. So, with that being said, it has worked out really well. We have a great season acquisition guy who just celebrated his 200th close with us as an acquisition guy, which is pretty amazing. So it works really, really well for us. We just started in Rhode Island a couple months ago. We've gotten some leads, but no traction quite yet. It's not for everybody. It is going to take you 3 or 4 months to see if it's going to work. And you could be in it for 25 to 30K before that happens. So it's something to
Oh, wow.
consider. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And
Yeah.
these are local channels?
Yes.
Okay. Makes sense. Awesome, man. Well, with that, I'm going to push us into the quick question round. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Let's do it. Starts with education. It could be any form, could be a conference you've gone to, a mentorship program you've been a part of, a movie you've seen, whatever. I just need 2 recommendations, one for general life wisdom and then one for real estate.
Well, for real estate, I would just say Steve Richards. He's been my coach for the last couple of years. He's been amazing. If you guys want to get connected with him, I can definitely connect you. He's definitely for the higher level, successful entrepreneur in this business, but he's amazing. He's been doing this business for 20 years. He's been great. Then outside of that, I would just say read. You got to read a lot of books. YouTube is great, but I'm constantly rereading books over and over again. It's been the catalyst of my success. A lot of it, actually, has been reading books.
Nice. Give us one recommendation for a book to get started on.
Flip the Script.
Flip the Script.
Sorry.
Right on.
Warren Claff. Yep. Yeah. I don't know if you've read that one, but it's a great sales book.
Nice. I've heard of it. I haven't picked it up myself yet, though. But now's a good opportunity. I should do
One
that.
of my favorite. I strongly recommend it.
All right. Next question is for your younger self. Let's go back to the Jeremy who was just go back to 2008 before he got into real estate. He just realized, he had to start over. Go back to him, look him in the eye, give him one piece of advice moving forward.
Don't give up. Don't quit. Just keep going. I mean, honestly, if I knew what I knew now, I would have just started wholesaling then, but I didn't know how to wholesale that. I didn't know how to do it the right way. But what I've learned is, life is going to kick your butt, right? And this is why I have this behind me. I don't know if you're familiar with this quote with Rocky.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. You're going to get punched. You're going to get knocked down. You got to just keep getting up. That's life. We see it through the economy. We see it in real estate. You're going to get knocked down. Just get up, shake, brush off the dirt and just keep going. It'll get better. You just got to keep moving.
Yep. Persistence is everything. Absolutely. All right. Next question is about the U.S. It's a big place. There is a lot of opportunity out there. Give me the single metro you're most excited about investing in today.
You should invest in your local market unless you are really in a rural market or a really bad market with crime and poverty and stuff like that. I think it's always best to do your local market, get to know it well, hit the point of diminishing returns, again, as a local home buying company. Now, commercial real estate does a different thing. I will say that I am buying rentals in Jackson, Mississippi, turnkey rentals. That's where I'm looking to build my portfolio going forward. I still buy stuff around here, but I am making a conscious effort in Jackson, Mississippi going forward. I feel like that economy is going to appreciate really well in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, in Jackson, I've had a number of deals sent to me from that area, and they are dirt cheap. That area is
cheap. I'm getting turnkey rentals for 80 to 90K,
that's
$1,200
crazy.
rents, and they're great management company, and great tenants. They've been low maintenance. I like them a lot.
Nice. I love it. All right. Next question is about finding deals. This has kind of been the theme of the podcast. You've mentioned a lot of strategies that you guys have used to find deals, but I'm going to force your hand and ask you to choose your favorite child. What is your favorite way to generate leads and find new deals?
Well, right today is TV commercials. I love it. But if I'm going to have to be on something that it's, I can plan a business around, it would be pay-per-click.
PPC.
I think, yeah, that's the most consistent one that you can literally plan ahead for. TV commercials is too up and down and all over the place.
Nice. All right. Next question is about lessons learned. As you said it, things go wrong all the time. It is almost guaranteed. In fact, it is guaranteed. Things will go wrong. But that is when we get to learn a lesson. So go back to a deal that went a little bit sideways for you. What happened? And then what was the lesson you pulled from it?
I can't think of any that come off the top of my head. I'm sorry, I'm not great at these bullet questions. I will say that I've, learned a lot that when things are great, they're about to go down. When things are down, just whether it'll get great again. It's very up and down. Now I don't get too high when we're up, and I don't get too low when we're low or down. I try to keep everything in perspective because it just always finds a way of working out. As long as you keep doing what you keep doing, things will find a way of just working out. And, when you're on top of the world, life's going to humble you. So just start saving your pennies because, there's going to be some kind of downside coming. So prepare for it.
Yeah, that's funny you say that because I got started in commercial real estate in 2020. And just recently I've kind of I was thinking about that, kind of realizing that statement that you just said is so true. When I was at the very peak, the next couple of months, something bad happened and I went down to the bottom. But when I was at the very bottom, next couple of months, something good happened and I went to the top. And whenever you feel like, nothing, you hit the bottom, nothing could possibly go wrong or keep going wrong. If you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, eventually you're going to start on that upward trajectory and things are going to get better. So
yeah, it's a roller coaster ride, but don't let it wear you down. And it can be emotionally and mentally exhausting. So you have to be careful. So just try to do your best to take a stride.
Stay right in the center.
Being a business owner, you're going to have gut check moments. I don't care what business you're in, you're going to be tested.
Yep. Yeah, and things have actually been going pretty well for me recently. So I've always been thinking like,
Oh,
what's going to
boy.
happen? All right. That leads us to the very last question. This is for the listeners. You've given us a lot to think about. I'm sure people want to reach out, get in contact with you. This is a two-parter. Where can they find you? And then what can they expect when they reach out?
Yeah, you can find me all over, social media, YouTube, Instagram, and, Facebook, Twitter, all that. Twitter. I don't know, all of them. There's so many of them, right? But yeah, Jeremy Beland, Beland, Jeremy Beland, or REI Freedom. That is the brand of our coaching brand. I am all about, just trying to help people. I'm passionate about off-market acquisitions and getting as much revenue out of those things as possible. I really want to simplify the process. I feel like analysis paralysis prevents a lot of people and kills more dreams than anything else in this business. So I try not to overwhelm people with information, and I want to give them just like, hey, what struggle you got? All right, here's 2 or 3 actionable steps. Go do this, and then circle back to me. So if you reach out to me, I'm going to take time out of my day and I'm going to provide you some help. But if you're just coming here looking for me to just sit down and have coffee with you and give you a bunch of information, that isn't the case. Text me, send me a message, say, Jeremy, I have a struggle with this. What do you recommend? I'll give you some advice, and it's up to you to do it or not do it.
Right on, man. All right. I will put that link in the show notes. So if you guys want to reach out to Jeremy, all you got to do is click the little more in the description. It'll pull down that full description, and in there you can find his links. All right, man. That wraps it up. Thank you very much for hopping on the show.
Man, I love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. For everybody who's with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason we do this. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to me, Gabe at therealestateinvestingclub.com. If you guys want to support the show, just leave us a review. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.